don't know what you're talking about.
Really
Can
tempted
you
to
put
just
into
stop
the
it.
Discord the stream link, and I'm gonna go do the Twitch. Put into the stream link, by the way, that this is gonna be our face reveal. Oh no.
What?
I've realized that Jacksepticeye reads One Piece. He started June 29th of 2022, and every time he has a new thought about it, he just responds to that original post. So there's one from like 47 minutes ago.
Oh, how do you spell his last name?
Baverstock.
Why am I copying that when I copied that to begin with?
What are you copying? Oh, what are you breaking?
Just simple stuff.
Okay, as long as it's simple stuff. I have to put everything on the other screen. Oh, I'm not used to this anymore. Everything needs to go over here. Well, I guess I don't need this anymore, actually. All of this can go away. Do I have a notification? No. Okay. I've never, like, ran a Zoom call before. It's a little horrifying. I'm not used to it. Hello, all. Wolf, Skeleton Prince, Tedious.
Hi, guys.
Our main three. No, I know you can hear me and Mickey. I've got it go. I just wanted the music in the background while we talk. I imagine Paul's not going to join until like just before we get started. Are you gonna get visuals? Yes, you will have the horrific visions that is myself. Mickey's all right.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome. Mickey is currently putting on makeup, to be fair. I'll sell you out.
I was running a little late. If it makes anybody feel better.
Oh shit! Oh, I was gonna say no. I have to add cameras. No, I don't, because I'm just literally gonna be screen viewing this Zoom call. Never mind. I was like, no, more work to be done. Okay. Let's see. What else do I need to get set up? I think everything's good. Oh, hey! You know what would make a good interview? Pulling up your interview questions. I am a professional. I don't know what you're talking about.
Hey, I've got interview questions too. I did my homework.
Did you? I'm glad you've written stuff down.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Okay, so you have interview questions in your head then, is what I'm hearing. You've lied to me, in fact.
I said I have them. I didn't say where.
Okay, okay.
Okay, the makeup's actually starting to show now. Okay, good.
It's like stage makeup. You have to put a full caked layer of makeup on in order to have anything happen.
Am I missing a brush? This is not the time, brush.
TDS, are you insulting me? What was that? How dare you? I love you too.
little bit of blush.
Do you think you'll be muted to talk and set up for a bit? I don't know. We'll see. When he first comes in, if it looks like we might need to adjust something, we will. Oh, I didn't read Skeleton Prince's comment before that. I apologize. I thought you were just sassing me immediately. I'm used to it.
Good. Sass him immediately.
Don't sass me immediately.
Sass him. There's my brush.
We might mute just long enough to get like microphone checks and stuff, and then we'll get going again. Why do I keep closing my page? What is wrong with me? I'm so used to only having Streamlabs pulled up that I just keep closing my notes. See, this is why news interviewers have cue cards and teleprompters, so that they can't close everything. Hello, Real Facts and Logic. How are you? Hello from the Not For Broadcast Discord community server. Hello, Roman. How are you? Are you scared, Mickey? This is going to be the most people we've ever had in the chat.
And they're going to be seeing my face.
They're going to be seeing your face. Welcome. You've all come at a great time to see our first face reveals. It is good to see all of you. Thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate it. Rissies, thank you for coming out. Turn the music down? Yeah, I can turn the music down. Hang on. Spotify, where are you, darling?
There we go. Now I look presentable.
There you go, T. Is that better?
There you go.
You always look presentable, Mickey. Shut up.
Now I look extra presentable. Where is... I'm afraid to say this sentence out loud because it might sound funny.
Have you looked at our streams ever? All we say are funny sounding things.
Okay. I'm looking around for my mother's butt cushion because this is a hard chair.
Oh, well, that's understandable. Listen. I can't blame you for that.
I'm not complaining about my butt constantly.
We need comfy chairs.
Comfy chairs, yes. Oh, glasses.
Oh yeah, please don't be blind.
But being blind is fun. Then you have the 3 blind mice.
Should I go refill my water before we start? Probably. Hang on. I'll be back in 1 second. Mickey, entertain people.
Oh dear.
You know how this goes. Every time I walk away, you're in charge.
Why have you done this to me? Hi guys, how are you doing today?
I'm already back. Don't even worry about it.
Thank goodness.
The shortest thing ever. Okay, Paul is in the waiting room, so I'm going to go ahead and mute the stream for just a second while we get tested and set up. And then as soon as we're ready, we will head back over and get ourselves talking again. So we'll be back in just 1 second, folks. Enjoy the music. Oh, you may not be able to hear... Shit! You won't be able to hear the music. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. set everything back up so that our folks can hear us and bring us back over to being live so that all our beautiful faces are visible again. Hello everyone, welcome to another Bardic stream. Today, as we all know, we are here with Paul to talk about not only his life, but of course, Not For Broadcast, which brought us into into knowing you as it is. How are you today, Paul?
I'm good. I didn't realize it was about my entire life.
Well, just like your acting, like how, your thoughts about it.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit smaller, easier.
Yeah. We won't go into too much any terrible details, but so thank you guys for joining us. As it says on the thing, Mickey's gonna handle talking in chat. Just so that way I'm not constantly looking over here and not looking at
the screens.
The screens, yeah. So that, my chat will be over here. So I'll be occasionally looking over here just to see if anybody has any questions or anything like that. If anybody has any questions for Paul, please put them in the chat. Mickey'll give me a signal, Snapchat me something, so that way I know that there are questions that need to be done, and we'll get those added into the rotation. So let me quickly grab this back up. There we go. So I do want to start, Paul, if you don't mind, with just a little bit about yourself. I looked over your page with all of your stuff, and I'm going to put that into the chat. That all of your, I don't know how I'm going to put that in the chat, but I'll figure that out in a second. All of your old works and everything. So I tried to go through as much of it that was visibly possible for me to be looking at.
A lot of my career wasn't kept because it was not, not
Yeah.
that interesting to many people at the time.
So like looking at some earlier stuff. Let's start with the first one that I saw of you after Not For Broadcast, Astronaut, with Martin the Spaceman.
Yes.
I greatly enjoyed that one. That was a very interesting change, like going from the seriousness of Jeremy and Not For Broadcast to although he is a serious man trying to get into space, the more comedy aspect.
Here, but he's also a very, comparatively speaking, soft kind of person.
Yeah.
Kind of shy, quiet, reserved, innocent about him. He's so excited about space and hasn't really thought much else about anything else. And not surprisingly, I did that before Not For Broadcast. I think exactly when I did do it, but several years before. It was one of the first things I did after I graduated from my acting school, because I went to one called East 15, which is quite a well-respected British school. It does get international students, so presumably people who are interested in acting in England have probably come across that or heard of that. And then about a year after leaving, obviously you hopefully have an agent. I did at the time, and he would find you work or look for work for you. But it's not like you just let them get on with it and wait for the phone to ring. You're meant to go out and look for other opportunities yourself. So that was one that I found a director called Miriam Patel, who was basically entering various film competitions and building his portfolio. He had a 48-hour challenge, sort of one that he was doing, so he had a certain amount of restraints, which is basically why it was a story around one person. And yeah, he was looking to stretch himself as a director and a sort of director of photography. And he had all his friends involved, and the only person he didn't know really was his actor. He hired me from halfway across England to come be his astronaut. So, and he did that off the back of a self-tape, so you record stuff, and he liked what I did, so it was me that got picked. So that's what. And then it was 2 days, basically at his house, making stuff basically at his house or very close to his house, and that was it. Done. Then it came, and then I got a copy a couple of months later. He did 2 versions of it, actually. A much shorter version, which was again, to fit to his competition that he wanted to enter. And the version that I put up was the slightly longer version. It's not a long thing. It's like 7-8 minutes. I can't remember exactly what it is offhand. I think he had to have a very tight, like 5-minute top. So I'm not exactly sure how he trimmed it down, but he gave me the longer versions. That's what I tend to show people.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I would be interested to see like a shorter version. I feel like it's already compact as it is.
Did you do a lot of sorry?
No,
Did you do a lot of research for that role?
Well, not really. I mean, the script, there's a line in it and he goes, 3 G's of force. So clearly he doesn't know a tremendous amount. Plus he's building a rocket out of cardboard. So it's like, it's not a very serious film either. So I didn't really feel like I really needed to get into the nitty gritty of astrophysics for that one. But I did obviously want to try and make it look or fit with what this person has written. So I happen to have, I don't know about you, but I've got a house full of books and I'm very bad at throwing things away. So if something was given to me, it's like, I'll keep that. I can't throw that away. That was a gift. So this extends to pretty much anything. And one of the books I was given when I was a child was a second-hand book about interesting things to do with the world, including rockets, space travel, etc. Had a really lovely illustration, which also gave me an excuse to keep it. But probably published sometime in the 60s. So it's got this lovely illustration. I thought, that's perfect. That'll be what I'll use in my self-tape as my prop. I had other bits and pieces that I could put around to try and sell the idea that I was designing something. So old architectural drawings of a house, but again, they're so thin and see-through. The point was to have like technical papers. And it was more about the aesthetic when I was trying to make it. So yeah, I didn't do a tremendous amount of research into space because the script sort of had that for me and it was very clear he didn't know very much. It was more about trying to make him look like he had really put a lot of effort into this, a lot of research, a lot of time, a lot of thinking. And in a short film, how do you do that? You do that with little visual clues. So, yeah.
I was gonna say, yeah. You in that you have that scene where he's like mapping out the stars and all that, and that gives him his new calculation for how to build the new ship, which I liked. I liked that he never gave up. He was like, "I'll try it again, one more time, just one more shot." But yeah, you were talking about having the a bunch of books in the house. Sadly, I am in a college dorm, so a collection of books is not available to me at the moment. But I do have I have a binder that has every copy of every play that I've done or that I've performed in or worked on. I just keep a copy of the script with all the markings and everything in it, just for memories and things like that.
Yeah, I everything I've been in, I usually have kept the script somewhere. So I do the same.
Hey, there we go.
You wrote to me. You obviously said you obviously had done some acting and looking at it. Was it yourself who was Jagger, who was being a teacher or studying to teach drama, or was that you?
Yeah. I'm studying to. Yeah, I'm going for a degree for English education as well as theater education.
And I just graduated with my theater degree.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, I know obviously it's a bit different over there. So how long are your courses? I mean, higher education here is usually about 3-4 years. Is that sort of for yourself?
Yeah, about it took me a little bit longer, 7 years, but yeah.
No, you had medical reasons, but yeah, the basic, basic is 4 years, and then after that you can go into more detailed thing, like where me and Mickey are. 4 years will get you high school. You can teach primary essentially. That's about all you can do, and then you need another 4 more to teach at university.
That's a lot of learning. So yeah, I admire your dedication.
Thank you.
I mean, I wanted to go to drama school, and then I did a course that was a year, and then beforehand I'd applied to do a 3-year acting course when I was a teenager, and I was 18, and didn't get in. So then I went and did a degree because I got offered the place to study drama. So not acting, but the history of acting, theatre styles, that sort of stuff. And that probably sounds closest to. Well, I'm not sure. It might be. It's fairly close to potentially to what you've both done, because it wasn't the acting itself. It was sort of everything about drama except actually acting. So I did that for 3 years, because then you could go and do an MA in acting afterwards at some point, which I didn't do immediately, but eventually, because I'd done that 3-year course, I could do a shortened, recognised theatre training course in England. So rather than doing another 3 years, which I didn't have the patience for, or in reality the money for, so it was really 1 year, try and get in. If I can do it in a year, then I can do it. So that was my own experience of higher education.
Fair enough.
And if I may, what actually got you into acting?
I got into acting basically when I was in sort of 13, 14, that sort of age. We were in English schools. You get to, I suppose you'd call it high school, secondary school is what we would call it, and then they start splitting up your lessons into blocks. So like lesson of English, lesson of maths, science, etc. They cover the arts, and one of the things that gets introduced sort of halfway through secondary school is more artistic subjects. So you get a dedicated art class, dedicated music class, dedicated drama class, and I did. And you did those for a year, and then a year after that, you had to pick a art subject, because you were supposed to have a rounded balance, and one humanity subject. And I was allowed, there's a handful of us who were allowed. We did 2 art subjects. So I did art and I did drama. And art because I'd always liked art, and drama because I really liked it for the sort of year that we got to do before we had to choose. So that was the start of it. And then I was just, like a lot of people, I didn't particularly go to the theatre. I'd been taken to see like a show, but you get interested through watching television, films, that sort of thing. So all right, I was inspired by seeing old films, and then I wanted to see more of it, and it just sort of grew sort of bit by bit. By the time I finished my sort of secondary school, I wanted to do it at college. By the time I did college, I wanted to go do it. I wanted to be an actor by the time I finished college. Hence, I applied to drama schools, and then I didn't get in. So I thought, well, I'll do something to do with drama, and think about what to do. So it sort of grew organically from there. But it was mainly just getting up and being encouraged to do it when I was at school, and I was like, oh, I like this. This is fun, so I want to do more of it.
That's interesting to hear, like, what the difference is, because you talk about that you guys cover arts fairly commonly. Well, yeah, we at the very least it used to be. But I feel like very much in American schools, you have to go out of your way to even consider taking a class that will teach an art. Like, you have forced music where you learn, like, the recorder in, like, your younger years. And then from there forward, you have to choose to go out of your way to take those other courses.
Well, admittedly, I'm getting on a bit. And I get the impression that arts, even in this country, don't get me wrong, they are marginalised. There's still a lot more emphasis or importance put on studying more academic things, because that will give you an ability to go get a job in a more wide variety of places. But there used to be, as I said, the fact that they want you to do something artistic just to give you some balance, all right, show you something other part of being an adult growing up. Doesn't all have to be really serious stuff. Learn to express yourself, and that will make you a better person as well, I think, was the general idea. Which is why when you had to pick, you were really meant to only pick one. And considering that we did 10 subjects, don't get it wrong, there's still a very heavy sort of bias. We still want you to do 9 proper things, and you can have one artistic.
Yeah, one section of fun.
That was the broad idea at the time. Until, of course, you get to college, and I don't think you have college in the same way over there. You seem to do a longer, what we would call secondary school, with like a higher part of it that becomes a bit more specialised, maybe. And then you go off to a university. we have the college system, which is these 2 years in the middle between school and university. And at that point, you can choose whatever it is that you want to do. That can be all artistic, all sciences, all maths, English, whatever you think. But at that point, you're picking something that you can then set you up to get into university if you're going down an academic kind of way of thinking. And obviously, you don't have to do any of it. You can leave at the end of your secondary school. You can leave at 16, don't have to do college, don't have to do university. But anyone who was going to go to university at the time, you have to go through college. You have to do college study in a specialism, basically, as practice for doing it an even more specialized thing at university. So that was the model that I went through. So yeah, I know it's a bit different over there, but it was only school that was trying to keep you balanced or keep lots of things, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
By the time you get to college, you could start picking what you actually are really interested in.
Yeah, having those 2 years to get up to that decision, I think, would be helpful for a lot of people. I feel like that's sort of like where our programs are for getting like your associates. So we have sort of the same thing, but usually our schools are like, no, you need to know where you're going before you even start those 2 years of getting your associate's degree.
Yeah, I mean, it is the same here. So it's like, are you sure you want to do something artistic? It's like, yes. So, because there's no money in the arts. So I'm aware of that, or I've heard of that, but everyone thinks they'll be fine, and then they're not. But at the same time, they do tell you, they do. There's a lot of similar pressures here, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
From everywhere, all the usual places, your family, your schooling, everything's like, go over here and go work, in a normal, conventional 9-to-5 job. So, yeah.
Gotcha. What was my next one? Where'd it go? The next one I wanted to talk about with the MET Film School was your production with Jerry. If you wouldn't mind talking on that for just a couple of minutes. Because I've seen what you've put up of it, but I'm not sure that that's the entire production of it, is it?
No, there's a little bit longer. Again, a lot of the things that I did or I've done, are just lots and lots of short films. London in particular, which I'm not too far from, has a lot of film schools. And certainly by the time these students are getting to their final year, they're pretty good and all right, they want to start building a portfolio. So you see a lot of adverts for student films, but they're sort of like mature students and they've been doing filmmaking of their own for some time. And if they're with usually one of the London schools, you can tell which ones are going to have the kit, basically. So they'll still produce something nice. They've got the resources. They're normally, I've looked at some of the costs they're doing, and they're very expensive courses usually. So they are well-funded departments. So the students have all the latest kit, and all right, it's quite good doing student films or short films quite often because there's more broader topic. There's more interesting stories, little stories, admittedly, but they're not the same sort of thing you keep seeing as similar stories on, say, television. They're more passion pieces by whoever's written them. They write something that they're really interested in and it shows. So this particular piece was my character, Jerry, finds this guy, goes into his local, and he's nursing a pigeon. He's looking after this pigeon that's injured. And then eventually I make him let it go. I sort of distract him so he releases it, which he does not like. And that was another shoot, I think, over about 3 days. Again, mainly because they're students, like, when can we get our location, which is this pub, and you can only get it for short windows when they're almost open but not quite, because then all the lights right, but they're paying customers and they're getting it basically for free, so that they work round when they'll give them. So yeah, and it was the story about letting the pigeon go was basically my character was about had just broken up with a girl, so therefore he had let her go, and then he thinks, oh, this person needs to do the same, albeit with his pigeon. And then he didn't feel the same way. He wasn't ready to move on. So he gets quite irate at that point. But yeah. First time he'd worked with animals. Thankfully, I wasn't working with the animal. That was somebody else. But it's like, yeah, they had like racing pigeons, so they're a bit more tame, that they used to release them. And we only really got one shot at that, and that was interesting. But
I was gonna say, yeah, with that flyaway scene, you really have to nail it on the one go.
Yeah. So that was quite tense. Everything else is really easy, just building up to that. And then it's like, we're gonna get the real bird this time. So we've done all the practices with like the sock, and now the bird is on set, so we have to get this right.
I'll give you a less serious question here for a moment that we've got from chat. Do you care for waffles? And if you do, what's your favorites?
Well, I can't say I'm a waffle guy, really. But for some reason, there was a product in England called Bird's Eye Potato Waffles, which I never had. But to this day, I can remember large chunks of that advert. It's just like burned into me.
Yeah.
Bird's Eye Potato Waffles, they're waffly versatile. They go with beans, bangers, and fish fingers, eggs on, eggs off, grill them, eat them, fry them, something, eat them. Bird's Eye Potato Waffles, they're waffly versatile. So that is what I could say about waffles, but ironically, I don't actually eat them.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, that just goes to show the level that advertisement had, that you still remember it all this time.
It nearly did so well, but it has never put a desire in me to eat them. But I do remember them. So
fair enough. On sort of another kind of lighthearted note, while going through your page here, I had to look into it because I didn't understand how this would work. You were in a background scenes of a KSI and JME music video of "Keep Up."
Oh yeah,
and I had to go scene by scene. I was just looking for your face. I was like, "Where would you have been during this?"
Release video. Basically, I about 2 years before that, I was in the first gig job that my agent got me was for a director called Jack Delaney, and this is just at the start of it. Everyone realised you could watch short videos on your phone. So, or you had to have like an iPhone or the very latest phone. But imagine that all YouTube explosion watching on telephone hasn't happened yet. But they've just sort of worked out it's going to be fairly soon that people will be watching videos on your phone. So this guy had written a TV series. Well, it wasn't a TV series. It's now classed as a TV series called Making Sparks. And the idea was 5-minute episodes that you watched on your phone. And everyone was like, interesting. Could that work? I don't know. And then my agent got me a very small part on that, where basically I was a charity door-to-door canvasser and walking around in a monkey suit because I was raising money for monkeys. And then I get killed by someone who's become possessed by an evil spirit. So that was that. But the director of that, later, 2 years later, this is why you stay in contact with people, messaged me through Twitter, goes, yeah, we're looking for someone who looks like you, sort of, for a music video. I was like, oh yeah, what do you want? Oh, a geek. He's like, yeah, that sounds about me. So I get a lot of those, it's fine, you pay me a bit, it's okay. So, yeah, it was, at the time, unbelievably easy. I turned up, just had to be at a bar, again, a daytime shoot in a bar, because that's when they're free for things like this. And they were trying for a variety of different things in the room, different characters. And he had a whole story about basically some kind of party, and then KSI turns up at the end of it. And they were going to have clowns and jugglers and all sorts. They just wanted a real mix of people, one of which was someone who looked nerdy. That was me. So, and then I had to do nerdy dancing, which I think I nailed very, very
it was glorious. Yeah.
But The thing is, I was like, oh, so when's it coming out? And he goes, yeah, he's got another way now. So he's binned all of that we shot there. And it's just him walking around the park now with everyone sort of following him. And I didn't care because I'd already been paid. That was so do what you want with it.
Well, the club scene is still in the video. You can still find it.
Yeah,
well, it's a very brief moment. I happened to. I was looking for your face, so that was how I noticed it. But I was like,
okay, so you gotta send that to me because I saw like the edit, which is just a park.
Oh yeah, I'll send you. I'll go and I'll grab a clip of it after we're done here, and we'll.
And it's like, I want to see if it's me now because they might have just used somebody else.
Yeah, we'll take a look. Yeah. I did see a question in the chat, which actually leads into one of my next ones. I've got to know what the story behind Cox Estate Agents is.
That was done at East 15, which is my drama school, and
I think we've lost him for a minute.
Two girls that you see in it, they wrote that sketch along with all. Well, they had basically a half-an-hour pilot that they wrote, and it was about them. But they were in my particular class, and in our class there's like 15 people, so they'd used all of us at different points. Can you play a character in one of our sketches? So that was the sketch they asked me to do, and they, having met me for a year, said, "Oh, we wrote this for you. Basically, we saw what you like. We thought you'd do this sort of thing really well." I was like, I'm not sure if I'm quite happy about that, but I could do it, and yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, that was our East 15's. They used the principal's office to shoot that. So,
gotcha. Okay.
And funnily enough, which I don't know how many people who are fans of Not Games in particular, but the guy filming that is Den. If anyone in the chat knows who he is, he's the DOP and was the director of photography for Not for Broadcast.
Oh, so yeah, okay.
I knew him at the time, and they were looking for a camera op, and Dennis, do you fancy being a camera op for these people? So yeah, he's same guy. So there you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's early connections there.
Yeah.
There are indeed a few individuals in the chat who know exactly who you're talking about. So it's good to know. It's good to know that Den's name is out there at least. I have one more before we go to Not for Broadcast. Mickey, do you have anything that you want to talk about beforehand?
This might be slightly leading into Not for Broadcast,
Ooh,
but the way that you speak is so eloquent and just in Not for Broadcast, you do a really great job as a news anchor. Did you have any training in journalism or kind of being a reporter, that sort of thing?
No. Two things. Obviously, it is reading a script, so a large chunk of it is given to me. The stuff that we shoot, which is meant to be us behind the scenes, again, the two people writing it, and of the two writers, the one who tended to write most of my dialogue, and known me for many, many years. So he sort of had a rough idea of asking me to do this character. And then we did some test footage. When they got picked up by Tiny Build, and Tiny Build went, "Yeah, we like you picked, you can keep using the same people." That gave them the ability to, all right, lead into the fact they know. I mean, all the principal characters were people that the writing team knew, and knew for a couple of years at least. So if you know people, it's usually very easy to write things that they're going to find relatively easy to do, or fit naturally into how they are. So that certainly helped with the stuff that isn't journalism, as it were, or isn't reading the news. And all right, we knew, when I read the script, I knew who they were setting up. I knew who they were influenced by. And all right, I've watched the news. I've watched British news programs and how they operate and the presenting style for years. So it wasn't it didn't feel like it was a massive stretch, but I knew the sort of people that give me actual news anchors here. Jon Snow was a very well-regarded news anchor on Channel 4 News. Was one of the people they said he's kind of sort of like this, and sort of like another guy who's he's very different in a way. He's not his ways, but very serious again. A guy called Trevor McDonald. And yeah, you knew, or I knew instantly, because these are like people you've grown up. They're like part of the furniture. They've been on every night for decades. As soon as you had those as references, there's like, yeah, I know how to copy that. I know the kind of delivery they're wanting. So technically no, but all right, you've had years and years of just having it sort of seeping in the background. You know how British news is delivered. So it's yeah, it's there already, sort of thing.
Gotcha. To go alongside, since we're leading into not for broadcast, my last little point here before we go into that does still involve Jeremy. Either way, looking at the performances that you've had, this may just be like a theater-minded kind of thing. There's very much, in my opinion, a trait of romanticism that runs through all of your characters. For Jeremy and Jerry, obviously, lost love kind of scenarios. Jeremy has, Jenny, our dear stage producer, who there's very much that kind of friendship that may bud depending on where we go in our storyline kind of thing.
That wasn't intentional, and it kind of annoyed one of the writers that people kept
Really?
really got on his nerves, drove him nuts.
Did it become more of a thing among the cast, or was that more of a fandom thing?
I think we get on. I think it comes across so well because, all right, the lady who plays Jenny is a lady called Sarah Kivens, and again, I've known her for a number of years. I'm friends with her. She's very talented, very good actress, and all right, I like her. So it makes scenes where you play basically her being her friend really easy. To sell that as I really actually like this person. So plus you have someone who again knows me very well, knows her very well again, and they're writing both sides of the conversation. It's quite good for obviously generating genuine connection or that feel of connection, because they know both the people who are going to be reading it. They can write to what they're good at. So yeah, but it sort of snowballed into something bigger than the writer thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And all right, I think there's obviously a particular scene where Jeremy has a meltdown and in that heat of the moment when she says love, I think because if you haven't really watched perhaps all the backstage conversations, and I remember watching someone stream it and they said, oh my God, she's in love with him. We really should have watched all those backstage conversations.
Oh no.
I was like, yeah, you should have done, but never mind, eh? But all right, if you haven't had time or you're not interested, whatever the reason may be, without anything around it, here's a woman who suddenly says, I love him. Now, if you listen to it carefully, I don't think even then you could say she's or hopefully the writer would certainly say, but she doesn't mean in that way. But I can understand that if you haven't heard anything else, and then, all right, a lot of television, a lot of films have this idea of friends that fall in love. So again, you're kind of expecting it at this point. It's like, oh. And somebody else remarked, oh, that makes it even worse, even more tragic. And all right, it's a very tragic moment. It's like, yeah, let's make it even more horrific by making one of them in love. Yeah, that's great. mix that into? So people just see that, and it wasn't meant to be that. They're meant to be exceptionally good friends.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a facet of the not for broadcast fan base who go, well, I know what the writers have said, but I don't care.
Yeah.
I think it should be a couple.
uh,
Like, okay. So
well, I think one of the scenes.
I don't like sort of pissing on anyone's fire, but
Yeah. I think one of the scenes that really led to that.
Yeah.
One of the scenes that really led to that was one of the Jeremy Returns endings. Where is it? Is it where you don't play the tape? I can't fully remember when he comes in with Disrupt. That he's speaking to Jenny alone, and they have that moment of, I want to hear every bad boyfriend of the last 5 years, every reason to hate them, all of that, and they go off to have dinner together. And I think that was something that sealed it for a lot of the fandom personally. Do you have any opinions on the fact that the fandom wants to ship them together?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, and myself included, you see so much sort of story arcs where eventually the key woman and the key man in a story end up together. So it's very, very hard to resist that when you see a lot of the same elements laid out. Again, that last scene, I know what you're talking about. I think the idea is these are two friends who've been away for 10 years and they want to catch up. But again, if you think you see something there, everything can add to that. No matter what at this point. And I don't know whether you're aware, but there is obviously a DLC coming up. And myself and Sarah are playing our characters again in that and turning up. And I think some of the fandom will be really pleased with what they see. I think they'll all be pleased with it. But I know one of the writers also had an axe to grind about this relationship. So you might be very satisfied, but he equally explores other avenues as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we will look forward to that. I was going to ask about. I'll ask a little bit about that.
I really can't say anything.
Yeah, I figure as much.
I should have really said that, but all I've said is, hey, they're still in it.
Really? Yeah. My question there was just going to be like, would Jeremy be involved? Because he is in the like background shot of like the trailer screen of it. So I was just curious, is it just like a one-off scene or is it like kind of a higher involvement?
Well, they've done something called Time Lead, and I'm clearly in it. If in the main photograph, there's a picture of me, Andrea Vowles, who plays Megan, and our two guests of the day. And this device. Now, that's basically, if it's in that photograph, and I've put up a screenshot on my YouTube on the community board. If it's in that picture, I can talk about it.
Fair enough.
If it's not in that picture, I can't. But all right, that is an official picture or official screenshot they put out of the gameplay. So yes, I'm in it, and I'm in a fair bit of it. And so are all the other characters that you would expect from Channel 1 News.
Gotcha.
So that's that, really. I do know that it's getting closer, sort of edging closer to being released, because they are now doing testing. So the very select few who've been picked are out there, maybe playing it now, who knows? But, helping us get bugs out of it so it's ready for everybody else to play at some point in this year.
Yeah. That's going to be fun. We've definitely been looking forward to that. We just got done finishing off the DLC of Live and Spooky and Bits of Your Life just recently on the stream. I've missed, where did it go? It was from TDS earlier. Oh yes, the statement of Jeremy has a meltdown is the understatement of the century is a good comment to go with that, I think. But since we
Mondays, eh?
Yeah. Since we are on Not for Broadcast, let's dive into that. How did you get brought in as Jeremy?
as I've already sort of alluded to, I knew them.
Mm.
That's a great way to get jobs. Finally, someone you know has a budget. Wonderful. That's going to work. Yes, one of the writers, a guy called Jay, he rang me up and said, we would like to shoot we're going to be making a video game, but with live action.
Mm.
And it's set in a newsroom. And would you read one of the news anchors? And I was like, yeah, of course, that sounds like a lot of fun. Very flattered to be asked. So, and then it became kind of, he's obviously the lead anchor, at least he is at the start of the story. And they hadn't written all of it. They'd written a third of it, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Jay's house. Several other people were there. Quite a lot of the people who ended up being in it were there. Some of the people were in the game, but not as the people they read at the time. And we did a read-through. Everyone really liked it. That was partly for them to get some feedback because, all right, they'd only been reading it between themselves, Jay and the other writer, Alex, and with a little help from Andy as well. He had done some input on the writing, but it was mainly those two. Andy became more involved with some of the other writing aspects later on. But they wanted to hear voices read it because they don't read it themselves. So that was the very early stuff. Then they went away and then they called me and said, right, we've got a little bit further. We want to record some footage so we can put it into a very basic bit of code so we can demonstrate the game and how it works and so on. And that's so we can take it to potential investors, potential backers, publishers, and they can get a better idea of what it is and hopefully fund it. So myself and Jay were in a community play at the time. So we used that space. We got there. We stayed. I think we stayed. I think we arrived early actually, and a bunch of other people showed up, and we filmed basically sections that would become the heat wave. So tiny chunks, and it did change a bit from there. But you'd recognise it. You'd recognise it very clearly. So we did little sections, and we had to keep jumping around because I didn't have that much time, and it was just so they'd have something footage to work into a working demo. And they used to keep me posted how it was going. They were talking to people that this, that, and the other. But it was several months, maybe even a year, before they got back and said someone's bought it or someone's gone all right and done a deal, and we're going to make it. And my first question was, do they still want to use me? Because I know I am not really, although the character's written to be in his 40s, which, all right, I am 40 now, but I wasn't obviously a few years ago, and I didn't even look like I was particularly in my 30s. My hair gives me away more and more each year, but at the time my hair was a bit blacker, and I looked very much the same as I do now. And I thought they might go, we love the idea, but we don't think the news anchor looks old enough to be the sort of character that you say he is. But luckily they like me, so like, yeah, keep it, go for it.
Go ahead, keep them on.
And then we started making it, and we made it in sections, so 3 levels at a time, and then basically they would put out a 3 levels at a time in early access. When they had sold enough or been convinced enough that it was going to do well enough, Tiny Bill would go, there's a bit more money, make the next bit, and so on. And by sort of the time they made 2/3 of it, the writers were confident that they would give them the money to finish it. And then it was like, maybe they'll release it on other platforms, maybe they'll do this, maybe they'll do that with it. And they just kept being happy enough, yep, do the next level, do the next stage. So concluding, and obviously that they decided to build or make 3 DLCs. So and that'll be it for Not For Broadcast, but it's been great in that respect, that each time it did well enough that tiny bill would go, okay, yeah, we'll make a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think, to be honest, the writers certainly feel that they have done all they wish to do at the moment with
Yeah.
that group of characters, that world. They want to do something different. They want to do something new, and I can understand that. I mean, I do the acting, then I go home, sort of thing. But they have lived it for years. I imagine
Mm-hmm.
they want to try something else. But yeah, so that's how I got involved. I kind of knew them, and the early stuff is, oh yeah, I'll do that. Just help you out, no
Mm-hmm.
payment. Just drop along. It sounds fun. And amazingly, they tell us that we've got a budget now. We can actually make it. Do you want us to? Do you want to come do it? It's like, well, I'll even pay you. It's like, yes, let's go. So yeah.
So yeah, so luckily we do have some people giving us a little bit of information in the chat of like episode 1 being filmed back in 2018. Obviously before you guys had to do the break for COVID and the pandemic. You mentioned that some of the scenes for Heatwave were used for that test production of it. Had they already gone through and like written out the Heatwave by that point? Were you already
I
aware
don't
of
know
what
that they'd
the?
written. I think they had a story arc. They knew what was going to happen. They knew the whole story.
Mm.
Because I hadn't got a backer at this point, I don't think they'd written everything out by any means.
Mm-hmm.
And they hadn't cast it all, technically. They had a lot of people they thought were going to do it, but they were still refining it. So what they had to do was like, right, we're going to have to write this bit of the story now so we have something to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So they would go away and go, just, oh, that's Star Wars. Just jump to the bit they had to have and start at episode 4, write what we actually need to put on camera to make this, to demonstrate what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's more like that bit was left. And by the time they got commissioned properly, obviously they went over that and it morphed, it changed, it developed. But there's a line that I say at the end of one of the epilogues, which was, they think it's all over. It is meow. When I come back reformed as
After Betterment, yes.
yes. And that was in the test script or the test footage of the Heatwave that we did in this little community space on a real shoestring kind of production, just to have some footage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was Alex's particular line, that one. He's the other writer and the concept person. Really, it's his baby, it's his idea. And Jay, he joined him to help write it, really. And then they ended up very much equal writers, but it was Alex's initial idea. And his meow was one of his lines, one of his puns. And he really liked it. And then somehow, by the time we did it, it was out. It wasn't in the final version of the script by the time we did the Heatwave. And he was already bugged by that, apparently. So he finally got a chance to work it back in at the end of one of the epilogues. It's like, as long as it's there, he's done it. So it was, yeah, it wasn't quite the same, but you would definitely know what it became.
Okay, gotcha.
It's all the same sort of beats, the same action. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mickey.
I personally adore Jeremy. I think my favorite moments are when you can tell that Jeremy is holding it all together but truly doesn't want to be there and has that just kill me now kind of look in the eyes that's very subtle. I loved those moments. They made me crack up. Were there any moments or lines that were your personal favorite?
It's a very, very early one. I did like saying, after Hey Friendship, and is when I have to then throw back to finish the show. I just, well, that's all we have time for tonight. It's relief and despair at the same time that it's over, then what the hell has this come to, that we are putting that on. I liked doing, there's quite a few good lines that I liked in my interview with Jesus. I enjoyed that tremendously, and Jay wrote, I think, Jay and Alex collaborated quite closely on that one, so I can't remember exactly who picked what, but I do know that I think his self-given nickname of Mr. Cheese Slice was an Alex line, and then I ad libbed in one of our rehearsals, like, "Not even for vulnerable children, Mr. Cheese Slice," which wasn't originally there.
Oh,
Oh, I like
awesome.
that. You can keep that. It's like, yeah, that was fun. So yeah, a lot of lines in that particular scene, and I'm thinking about that, they're all that was a favourite to do that scene.
Mm-hmm.
For those sort of moments where he's just utterly disgusted with what he's got in front of him. So yeah, that particular interview has a lot of them. But I'm trying to think what else I like. I mean, there's a lot of fun things that I get to do. But again, it's basically just being exasperated with people, and glaring at them and going, "Why the fuck are you here?" But with my eyes. So, yeah. So those kind of it's just fun playing that frustration in. It's I can't give any others. It's been a while, but just when I get off this, I would go, "Oh, I should have said this. Oh, that's the one I really like." But that's what comes to mind off the top of my head.
I can tell you that two of my favorites of a Jeremy line is, you mentioned the hey friendship, where he's just so done by the end of that whole scene, and it's Jenny, Megan, and Jeremy talking once we cut to adverts. Is what was that? I believe they call it art. I believe I have a 14-inch cock. That doesn't make it true.
A lot of people tell me they like that.
It's that one, or it's from, I was gonna say the heat wave, but that's not it. The lockdown episode, for preparing for the Mr. Bear song, where everybody goes off
Harris.
camera.
I did like that.
Everybody goes off camera and goes, "Right, I'll just fill time then, shall I?"
Here's the premiere that no one asked for or wanted. Yes, I remember that. But well, I do like that scene. National Nightly Loos. We haven't got a clock. Well, why don't you start and I'll stop you when it becomes unbearable to watch. And also when he reveals the prize, is that, "What is that?" "My jock shirt." "Oh, but I've signed it." "Oh, well then, what a fantastic prize."
There it is.
Was it hard keeping all the fact that there were different endings and different things that led up to the various changes in each scene? Was it hard to kind of keep that in mind when you did each scene?
Because of the variations, and then you know where you are, sort of thing. Which path am I on, so I don't get them muddled up. Most of the time, it wasn't too bad. I do know that when we were doing the heat wave, we did. I kept thinking I'd started drifting into the other one. I did it at least twice, and we were doing a really good take. I went, "No, sorry, I went wrong. I started doing the other one." It's like, "You didn't." "No, I did." It's like, "You didn't." It's like, "Didn't I?" "No." "Oh, fuck." Because they're very similar. That's the point, where they diverge, and it's just. And all right, the other thing is, it's drilled into us, whatever happens, try and keep going, because, all right, the people playing this, they don't have a copy of the script. Chances are, if you say something that works just to get to the next bit, it'll be fine, and it might be a lovely take the rest of it. So don't just stop, keep going, and we might be able to use it. So you keep going, but then in my head I was like, it's wrong, I'm doing the wrong one. I've switched between the two. At any moment there's going to be this car crash where they become uncompatible, and the two actors will be, we're all going to be fucked. I have to stop it. And I was like, no, it was fine. So that happens at least once. I think maximum of twice, but it didn't help that we did a load of takes on the one where I shoot myself rather than be shot. And the director, because I took it in turns, the director of the day was like, well, they're usable, but it's not quite what I want. So we did it again and again and again and again. And then we got to one and they went, well, that's usable, so we'll stop. But we'll come back to it tomorrow. Do it again.
Great. Keep that emotion
no,
though.
Don't do that. Because I want to forget this one now so I can focus on the variation of it that we do tomorrow. Like, no, we'll do that first. And then we'll just come back to this one. Okay, then. So my plan to just focus solely on knowing the other version went out the window. I had to keep making sure I knew both of them. And then we did this other version in... Technically, it was in 3 takes, but 2 takes of people basically... In the first minute, like someone tripped, it was like, no, we can't use that, go back. Or, a light blew, so we had to start again. So the first time we got all the way through the scene was take 3, and they went, that's great, we're going to use that one. Done. And that was the one where they come in and try to arrest me. And then we went back into the one that we've been doing the day before. And then that time, whatever reason, I think again we did maybe 2 versions of it, and it was like, oh yeah, that's fine, that's great, that's what we wanted. It was like, it does feel incredibly similar to the other 12, but fair enough.
It was that minute change.
So yeah, so that was the time I think what you're referring to, Michaela, of have I got lost where I am. I did feel it on that day. The rest of the time, because they are quite spaced out, it wasn't really that bad. And all right, in lockdown, which is the closest sort of situation, because we do, for logistical reasons, back-to-back change. I mean, we had to redo one of those things because the audio files were just, something had happened to one of the actors when they got the proper audio back. They put them down, so they were really sorry when I had to do the whole thing again. And all right, it's a shame in one way, but it's still a fun scene to do. And by that time, of course, there'd been a gap. So by the time I came back to do it, I could just focus on that one scene, and it was fine. And most of the time, because of the natural way of setting things up and the time it takes between shots sometimes, or scenes in this particular case, you've got time to check if you're in any way not sure what's going on. And all right, the 2 writers are on the set, you can just ask them. It's like, this is the bit we're in on. It's like, yes, there's that bit. Great, fantastic. So mainly it was okay, but the heat wave, I did get a bit muddled and think I was going wrong, but in fact I wasn't. So
I mean, the heat wave was such an emotional scenario anyways. I can imagine it all came together.
The worst thing about it is the more you go into it, well, any of these scenes are the same, the further you go into it, you just don't make a mistake at the end. Like after doing like 8.5 minutes of a 9-minute scene, don't screw up just there. And the pressure's building. It's like, we're nearly there, we're nearly through it. And I can't remember what the phrase was, but there was the odd word that occasionally my mind would stumble on. So in the end, I used to have it written out in big letters on a piece of paper and just stuck on one of the walls that was dead behind the camera. So if I became anywhere unsure, I could just look up and see it. And it's one of those things, like when you have if you play drama, you probably know this. When you forget a line, but you sort of know it, and it's very frustrating, and then the prompt gives you literally starts to say the first word of the line, and before they've even finished that word, oh, it's that line. You know all of it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the phrase was, but there was one bit of this long speech that I was doing at the end where occasionally I would stumble there, and I became so paranoid about doing this on a take that I wrote out the first word of the line and just had it stuck up in like 3 places, so I could look round. And whenever I saw it, I was like, "Oh, we're there."
Mm-hmm.
It was my little safety net to make sure I didn't fuck it up. And thankfully that worked, so it was okay.
Well, that's good. Is there any obviously not the like YouTube channel for Not for Broadcast has released like directors background stuff, some of the blooper reels, anything like that. Do you have like a favorite like screw up throughout the production, or anything that might have like been kept that wasn't like quite original to what was supposed to happen, but you guys just enjoyed it so much it stayed?
Not coming to mind.
Okay.
I mean, I had a lot of fun doing it, and a lot of times where I was trying to make sure I didn't laugh or wreck a scene sort of thing because it was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But usually if something went wrong, we had to redo it. So there was very few things that wobbled enough and kept going. I remember one that went wrong that we didn't keep, which was again when we were doing the Jesus interview. The British Prime Minister at the time was Boris Johnson, and Jesus, in the middle of his time, going, "Fuck you, fuck the government, fuck it, France," went, "Fuck Boris," in the middle of the tape.
Oh yeah, no.
And there was a moment, and we all kept going for like a couple more lines, and then they called it. It's like, no, we can't use it.
We can't use that one, unfortunately.
It was going really well up until that point.
Yeah, he was on a roll, and you know some things just come to mind.
The real Prime Minister, not our imaginary one. And he hadn't really noticed. I was like, "Oh, sorry." So, anyway.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, there is something like that's coming up in the DLC, but again, I can't talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
Have me back later once that's out.
Absolutely, we'll be happy to. Two things that are a bit more lighthearted here, because I did see earlier somebody asked the question, and I was intending to ask it as well, but we did get an answer in the chat. During the lockdown, you have the sandwich scene. And some people were asking if you did get to eat the sandwich after.
It's yeah, I wasn't going to waste it. It's hard to get food. So, yes, I did eat it. I did deconstruct it. It was very tall.
Oh yeah, so, it was a very shaggy sandwich.
So I couldn't just. That was too big. But I did break it up and eat it.
Okay. Another one from our group here. Can you, obviously in game, one of our constant running things is the scientists that go down to Dante's Taint. Can you still pronounce the Swedish scientist?
It was Morgan Horgensford.
I love it. I tried so much during our stream. I just constantly was trying to say that name. It took me forever to be able to get there. Was there any tricks to you being able to do it?
I mean, for a long time, I got it nearly right, and I might have gone back to doing it that way. But I can say something very close to it if that isn't right. So, by the side of things, some very dedicated fans will turn up in your chat, and they'll tell me whether I got it right or wrong. But, yeah. Obviously, I can't see your chat. What does chat think? Did I get it right, or was it...
What do we think, chat? We seem to be quite excited about it in chat, so... Everybody was waiting for that one. Is there a particular scene, just out of the full game, that does not involve Jeremy, that is a favorite of yours?
I think the scene where I can't remember the character, but Megan adopts a daughter.
Stacy, yeah.
Lacey, that's it. And when she suddenly actually has something to say and talk about what her life was like, I think it's a really good piece of writing, and I think she nails it. It's really, really good. Like her. And obviously I met her subsequently, but and on the day technically I met her because it was filmed on one of the few days that I did come in, and she was filming in the morning and I was filming in the afternoon, so we were like ships in the night, and I said, oh, hello, nice to meet you, that sort of thing. And then she just wrapped, not just finished for the day, but that was her out of it. And we all thought she was a bit older than she was, but she still hadn't finished university. She's really quite young, and she's excellent. And
okay.
I don't for me remember her name, but her acting was really, really good. I mean, all the cast do really solid, really good performances. But all right, watching it and enjoying it, sometimes not appreciating it and knowing, well, I just like that is not always the same thing. But I did think she was really good. And then I do enjoy watching Patrick. So we don't do much together, Jeremy and Patrick, but George, who plays him, he's a very nice chap. He's very funny, and I do like what he does with Patrick. It's a hoot. Obviously, you mentioned you were playing live in Spooky. Again, a bit like with the first game, when they were trying to do a horror game, they were trying to do something that they hadn't done before with some other shots. So they did some test footage just to check it was going to work. And they obviously hadn't cast anything then. So they asked, would you play some of the bits again with George, with him obviously being Patrick, and you being other characters, just to give us something to film and try something out. So I got to read on the day quite a bit of The Spirit Whistle and do some of those scenes with Patrick. And that was really, really good fun. And so different to what I've had to do for Jeremy. And the guy who now does it is fantastic and very well cast. But it was fun just doing the test footage with George. And not really knowing what was coming, because I was just, here's a script, just read it. And just, yeah, it was funny. And yeah. I do enjoy watching, actually the other, not Patrick as well, is also, it's that awkwardness when they're caught on the hop. It's all very good. So, yeah, it's really hard to pick stuff. Apologies.
No, you're all right. Couple of things from chat real quick. I got pointed out to me. We do have a message. Great to see you reminisce, Mr. Baverstock. Remember these things fondly from Jay. He's watching with Charlie Farley.
Oh, hello, Charlie Farley and Jay.
We're also from Roman 4507 Russ. Mr. Bozeman asks, when is Jeremy returning to work? Your vacation is now over. So, I'll follow it up immediately by, have you ever heard the Russian dub of your voice for the game?
I have.
I have not. Is it severely, is it way out there?
I don't have much frame of reference for Russians.
Okay.
But the dub is good in the sense I speak when I'm supposed to speak. So it's lined up properly.
Oh, yeah.
It's just all the dubbing that I've seen of May. It's just odd seeing your face with a different voice coming out of it. And more to the point, a different language coming out of it.
Sure,
so you have
yeah.
no idea what the fuck they're saying. Or you do, because sort of, But without, if you remove all the subtitles and you didn't have a script and you just watched it, it's like that's me, but I'm talking another language. This is crazy. It's just, it's not so much the sound, it's the dialogue. It's like, how is this? This is a very odd experience. And that kind of happens for both, well, any language that you're dubbed into. To see it back is an odd experience. Weirdly, about a month or so ago, I found out a film I was in called Close But No Cigar, which took ages. I didn't honestly ever think he was going to get a proper distribution deal, but one day, by chance, I found out, crikey, someone's bought it and shoved it on Amazon. I was like, wow. And then about a year or so later, that company done a deal with some channel that uses YouTube to show films. And they obviously brought them on like probably a whole slate of pictures, so several films at once as part of their deal. One of which was this one. So suddenly it was up in Europe, admittedly with adverts put in it through YouTube, but up for free there. And then after that, it turned up on a Filipino media area, dubbed into their language, and it was just crazy to think that I've been dubbed into Filipino. It's fucking weird. So, yeah.
We have another question. Have you actually finished the game? Last time someone asked this, you said you were stuck in lockdown because of the Snuggle Fox.
No.
No? Are you still with lockdown?
Yeah, the thing that I don't know how to put this. I know what happens.
No, that's fair. You have a fair point.
I don't have to say. Don't get me wrong. It's a really good game, and really people like it. But I have like the ultimate spoiler. I know the people who wrote it, and I acted a large chunk of it, and I saw the script. I know what's coming. So it doesn't have the same drive as other games, other things to. Oh, I want to know what happens. As soon as you've had it spoiled for whatever reason, even with the best of intentions, it's not. You don't have the same drive, I would say, to keep playing, unless you're really good at whatever it is.
Right.
I'm not a natural video game player. I don't do very well. So remove the need to find out what happens and couple it with someone who's not very good at video games. It doesn't lead usually to playing. That said, I do know I should really complete it. I mean to complete it. It's just a question.
One day. Where did it go? We asked earlier about specific lines or anything that were your favorite. Do you have a particular favorite episode that was released that you like over any of the others, like through the story or anything like that?
I obviously the one that had the biggest impact was episode 2 because of the crescendo in the middle of it, and that got lots of people messaging me and saying nice things. That was nice. I quite like Lockdown, which I know is a bit Marmite for some people, but it was the first time that we had, or the writers could let the characters' masks slip a bit and say things that piss them off directly to camera, and swear a bit, and just play with that dynamic, as obviously it was going to be revealed later that it was a dream. And it was because of that scenario that, all right, Jeremy didn't have to even really pretend anymore that he thought this was all awful. In episode 1, and even when he comes back in episode 2, there is this bit of him which is trying to at least partly put a professional face on. In this dream reality, of course, he doesn't have to. And therefore, bits with Patrick, when I catch him pretending to be outside when he isn't. Bits with Tommy Harris, when I think he's an idiot and giving away his pants as a prize, and how fucking irritating that is. And it's just, all that sort of saying this is a complete and utter waste of time and pathetic, and criticizing all the guests much more openly. That was a hoot. So that's probably my favorite in many ways. So yeah.
Okay. On the conversation of having played the games, do you have any have you or do you have any intention of doing live or spooky or bits of your life since Jeremy isn't involved in it?
Well, I would. I do. I would. I think my computer isn't quite ready to play not broadcast.
Mickey's along the same way. It's okay.
So I was like, oh yeah, I'll save up and I'll get an Xbox and I'll play with them all on Xbox because I can trust the hardware. It'll just be my own limited ability that's going to get in the way. Everything will be wonderful. And of course, I haven't bought an Xbox. So I haven't got that spare cash at the moment.
Fair.
So then I go, oh, I should just use it on my PC. And I just think it might break it. It's not. And the thing is, I go on the Discord sometimes where I read other people's comments about bugs, problems, etc. And it just scares me. It's like, I haven't got the technical ability. It's not going to work. It's just going to break. It's just not ready for that kind of thing yet. So, yeah, I keep putting it off, but I will. Which is another reason for not finishing it. I know it just is this monster file size, and the last time I played it was about half the size, and it always got bigger. It's just.
Yeah, I've kind of put it off on like a external hard drive while I'm getting the achievements and things, so that way it's not taking up my main computer space.
So, yeah. So hardware and finances permitting, I would probably play all of them, and it's awful, but alright, you can see a lot of the footage through other
of course,
means.
Yeah.
So, I've watched people play them and found that fascinating because that takes away the fact of needing my ability to play. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so somebody said, including the current DLCs that is out, we're at 80 gigabytes of data for not for broadcast, which is brilliant, and I love it. Well, since your computer doesn't, you don't do much for gaming with the computer or systems from the sounds of it, do you have any like card games or anything like that you're a major fan of?
Card games?
Yeah, like Magic the Gathering or oh god, I'm not even a fan of card games. This is a problem. Hang on, I'm not the right person to ask this question.
I'm really, really old here. When you say card games, I think things like Patience or Pontoon 21.
I'll take those two. Listen, yeah, anything that you enjoy. Yeah, blackjack. Listen, a lot of people enjoy solitaire. You know.
Matching pairs, they're a bit more easy now.
Fair enough.
And I was thinking, he can't mean card games, so yeah.
Well, somebody asked it, I figure I'd ask. Spoons. Somebody said spoons. I am actually a fan of spoons, to be fair.
That has been outlawed in my family. We played that at Thanksgiving.
I was saying your state is like, what kind of country do you live in? I know they vary from place to place. No spoons.
No, we've had people come away with way too many scratches. We're a bit intense here.
You're a competitive family, yeah?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, fair enough. Card games was a bit broad. Do you have any, what Paul? What do you do for hobbies now that you're? I saw you were uploading some more audition stuff on your YouTube more recently. Do you have anything that you're doing right now that you're like preparing to go into a role for?
Well, I'm auditioning for stuff. There's a couple of things that I can't. See, my takes basically, I save them up, and once I basically know the project has been made for someone else, then it's safe to release them. So the ones I released earlier in the month were basically different things that I'd done through the year. And all right, they went with someone else, but I still quite like them as tapes. And I thought, why not something different to share? And then so there's something that I put in a self tape for at the that was in the last week, and I had another short film audition on Thursday, which also talk with the people doing the film, and they've asked me to do a second one, so that's a good sign. But so yeah, there's two things that I'm waiting to hear from. So that's nice. It's not really a hobby. Obviously, that's what I'm hoping to get paid for. So to go back to your first question, and all right, I've done some medical videos for a hospital, which isn't very glamorous, but all right, it's nice and it's a good thing to do because it helps people. Playing a patient, so that's sort of internal, but it's something else. So I do basically whatever I get offered, really. So that's been the start of the year, so that's quite good. Technically, the medical stuff was at the very end of last year. But, they might want me to do some like a voiceover for it. So I'm going to hear back on that.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and then hobbies. I'm quite old-fashioned. I make model aeroplanes.
There you go. Somebody was asking about those in the chat, so there you go.
So yeah, that. Funnily enough, the writers didn't particularly know about that. That was just an amazing coincidence. They chose that thing to mention. And I was like, so how did you know? It's like, we didn't. I was like, oh. So yeah, that's my hobby.
If you have the opportunity, I got like two more of your personal life, and then we're going back to Not for Broadcast for a moment. If you had a chance for doing like more major films, like bigger productions, things like that, would you be comfortable going into like a more of a major thing, or do you like working in more of a smaller, independent kind of style?
I think any actor would like to do more and more projects that either have more resources given to them, more exposure, more just do more things. It's not that you don't like doing small stuff or indie stuff or independent things, but you do something. You want people to see it, and a lot of the times, it's not so much that the budget is small, the project is small, is that when it's been finished, it's getting it seen by people. It's getting someone to distribute it. I made numerous short films that either didn't quite get out of editing or got out of editing and then they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't know how to sell it. So never saw the light of day. And it is a bit frustrating because you've made something and you like it and no one ever sees it. The great thing, obviously, if you do manage to get work for a TV show or a film company where they actually have a proper distribution network, is people can see what you've done. That is the appeal of doing theatre still, is because, all right, it's easier in a way. You still have to promote it, you still have to hope people cut out of their house and come and see you, but they can literally stand in front of you or sit in front of you and watch, and you have an audience. So you want people to see what you've done. So undoubtedly, if you ever get work in television, or if I ever get work in television, it will have a bigger audience than probably 90% of the stuff I've done. So yeah, of course you would like that. The small downside to TV work, and it isn't much, is when you start, they're not so much looking for, oh, are you a great actor? Can you do this? What can you do? They're mainly going off your picture initially just to get you in the room. And then they assume if you've done training and stuff, you'll be competent. It's not like a great compliment. Oh, we're giving you the part because you're wonderful. It's like, no, it's because you look right and we trust you'll be all right. And you didn't screw up when you taped for us. So
right.
Come in. And then this is going back to that music video. The guy remembered me and obviously thought I was going to be competent, so he asked me to come in and work for him again, which was nice, and I was happy to get it. And it was a paid job and quite a well-paid job for a very short amount of time. But it wasn't in any way a stretch. It's like, we basically had picked you because you look nerdy. So remember to wear your glasses and then just, dick around a bit, deliberately be bad at dancing. Not a stretch, because we are basically selling a cliche. And all right, originals, when you start, that will be a lot of what you do. Little independent films, small films, short things, they will be far more likely to be interesting to play because they will be the director's, the writer's passion project. There'll be something they're really, really excited about. And then they've given you a chance to do it, and you'll get much more to play with, to work with. So they'll be more creatively fulfilling. But you would need to do a very large amount of them to get by on them alone. So it's just how things are. But it's not bad, but all right. Of course, I'd love to do something which paid well as being creative as well.
Yeah. In that case, we could go right back to Not For Broadcast. We've talked a little bit about you working with Sarah and Andrea. We haven't talked too much about what could be considered your antagonist of our series through Claire, who plays Julia. I wouldn't want to call Roger, who plays Peter, an antagonist, because I love that man. And I think he had a lot of good intentions that unfortunately went sideways.
They both had good intentions, but she is able to be more ruthless when pushed.
So what was it like working with with them?
I did work more with Claire because her character survives for longer.
True.
I knew Claire anyway. We had been in a few plays together, and so we got on. I like Claire; she's a very funny lady. But I didn't really know Roger. He's a really likable chap, very funny, again, charming. It was really nice to do the read-through of bits of his life because I just got to watch him all day, really, and do his things. He's a very talented man. He's got lots of great stories because he's done it for so long. Strangest thing that I've experienced about Roger was shortly after finishing that read-through, I spotted him on a TV advert for funeral plans.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, I know him. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's just, yeah. So yeah, but I didn't have too many scenes with him. The scene that I sort of had with him is one where we've got Sven, and we've got the guy who's kind of like a Russian oligarch, but it isn't called Russia.
Yeah.
Himself.
The
Ivan,
Kyrgyzstanian ambassador, yeah.
Yeah. So they're all there, and then myself and Andrea are interviewing them. But the way it's been built in the room is kind of a bit like Celebrity Square. So it's like 1 square, 2 square, 3 square, 4 square, with all of them in, each with a camera. So we can hear them all, but we're not facing them. So we're not... That was the thing where I sort of I do interview him, but I can't even see him. So it's very... Yeah, I didn't really do much with him directly at all. So... Again, it's sort of ships in the night talking to him, ships passing sort of thing. Claire, on the other hand, I did obviously do scenes where we've got to look at each other. And I knew Claire anyway, so yeah, we've done... first time I met Claire, I was in a production of All My Sons at my local theatre. and played George Giva, I think that's the second name. And she played the woman who had been my childhood sweetheart. And I remember in rehearsals, it was the first time I met her. There's a scene where she comes out to greet me after not seeing George for many years. And she used to love barreling around the corner and just going at me full pace. And you've seen our relative sizes.
Yeah.
The first time she did that, we just kept going. Nearly fell off the stage. I was like, Jesus, woman, take it easy. And she used to have a lot of fun talking to me, going, I'm going to send you flying again, but this time with an audience. I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. And then we did another play, which actually Jay directed, where I was playing Thomas Cromwell on this occasion, and she was one of Anne Boleyn's ladies in waiting. I think it was a Lady Rochford. And at the end of that, I threatened to take out her eyes through one of my henchmen and will kill her. I'm not very nice to her at all. Yeah, so not that anyone's seen that, but the shoe has been on the other foot previously, compared to when she has been assaulted by guards at the end.
Ivan Vodovich, that was the ambassador's name. I was looking in the chat to see, so I knew somebody had put it in there. Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier about favorite scenes. I think one of the ones with Claire might have to be one of my favorites. It's the award ceremony for Advanced.
Yes, I have seen them.
When the kid, it's the backstage conversation with that child. We are nothing alike, and that was one of my favorite scenes for her. That was that was one of the scenes that really made me enjoy her character throughout it. Obviously, near the end, you, depending on the playthrough, you have a chance to meet the newer cast of the NNN show. Specifically, Francis, who's taken over for Patrick Bannon. Had you worked with them at all previous to that?
No, that was first time we did stuff together. Very nice. I think Emma, she's lovely. But yeah, I'd seen some of her stuff, like playbacks, but I hadn't obviously got a chance to do anything with her until we meet as I've returned. But she does an excellent job as being not Patrick, and is yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, I felt so badly for her from the moment Disrupt attacks the rally until the ending for her. I was like, oh, you've been forced into so much horrible things. Speaking to some of the endings for Not For Broadcast, I've not seen all of the interviews with Jay and Alex, so I'm not sure if they have what they would call a canonical ending. But do you have a favorite or one that you prefer as this should be the true ending?
Well, I'm going to be biased because I like the one where I'm alive.
Sure, yeah.
And ideally alive and not brainwashed, so that makes it a very narrow window. But I believe they're all canon. Oh, that's the idea. So,
okay.
Should you ever only play it once, whatever ending you get, that is the ending. They don't wish to write anything that they've told me that, say, picks one of those and then carry on a timeline from that particular ending or that epilogue. So all the epilogues are final. So whatever one you get is it. Of course, if you then play all of them, then you've got a multiverse and all are right and all are wrong and whatever it may be. So yeah, Yeah, it's because I'm only in three, and two of them, um, I mean, two epilogues and three endings. So I like the epilogue where I basically get back to being a news anchor
Mm-hmm.
for Jeremy at least. Although it does sound, it's better than what had just gone before,
Mm-hmm.
but it also sounds very much like they have gone back to the way things always were.
Yeah, where it
Um,
seems like a centralist party is kind of
yeah.
retaken.
Well, it's interesting, but I mean, all right, from the game, you learn that Hamilton Mann's party was probably broadly right wing,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't know how right wing. And for all we know, he could have been only sort of just right of centre. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't know. From a country point of view, advance with a different prime minister might be quite a good thing
Mm-hmm.
for the majority of the population. But so this is one of the things that for my character, I like the one where he's alive. It's
Yeah.
really is. It's for the country though. I don't think an accord suggests that the country is going to be particularly much better than it was before advance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'd be much worse either. But it's that kind of. So, do you want your country to be just okay, or do you hope it will be better?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The best ending is where Peter gets to stay prime minister. You'd be correct. So, on that note, obviously, I think Mickey and I both have our own preferred ending as well. I side with you of a little bit of having Jeremy and Megan side by side again, doing the broadcast for the epilogue is a good is an ending I prefer. Um, as an epilogue, as an actual ending, I greatly enjoy having the back and forth between Jeremy and Megan, where they're doing the sign off and they get to go back and forth. But that one kind of ends with everybody going off to Bozeman's office. And we mentioned it earlier. I actually greatly prefer the ending of Jeremy and Jenny having their friendship and being like, let's go talk about everything that's been missed since I had to go to jail. I think that one just feels like it's more of a closing statement rather than kind of an open ending, kind of we're going off to Bozeman. And presumably because we can see Bozeman is a fairly decent man in most of the epilogues, we can assume nothing bad will happen to our cast.
No, I mean, they're in safe hands with him.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the fact that we say we're going to destroy that set, though.
Yes. The coloring was horrible on it.
That was good. But, yeah, I don't know whether having... You can see what Advance are trying to do. It's just they had the wrong people at the helm. Even if they were good at the start, they both had too many of their own flaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the only thing that's kind of like, oh, is it turns out Alan James was in fact right, which is just a bit depressing when you realize it.
Yeah, we had a lot of conversation about that on our second kind of like look through of how almost everything Alan says, as wild as it sounds in those first few episodes, did come to pass, unfortunately.
That was a terrifying moment to realize that. That was definitely one of the scarier moments, I think, for me.
That does remind me that one of my favourite things to watch, which I'm not in, is Alan James's adverts.
Mm-hmm.
Or by Tracy Neal's adverts. So, yeah.
We had originally I wasn't streaming when I first started playing Not for Broadcast, and I told myself I would do, the game seems to be wanting at the beginning you to support Advanced, but obviously even from the beginning you can kind of see that things aren't going to go quite the way you would want it to. So I had started to do that playthrough, and you get to the lockdown, or not lockdown, I'm sorry, heat wave, and as Jeremy's breakdown begins to go forward, I started to feel terrible for having fully supported Advance at that point. And I think it is where Jeremy looks directly into the camera and addresses Alex by name that I was like, all right, I can no longer do a pure Advanced playthrough here. We must side with our man.
Where's that tape?
Where is that tape? And then, of course, when we did the first official stream one, we did full Disrupt. Just to see what the differences between them would be. And I looked back at my achievements, and funnily enough, to go along with Jeremy, the first achievement I unlocked was the stay neutral for a certain amount of time of support both sides and really just show. I was like, oh well, that makes me feel a little bit better that was my first achievement, was kind of keeping the balance.
How are you going with the achievements? How many did you get?
I think we're currently sitting way over half. I can double check that. Mickey, if you got another question while I look this up.
I'm blanking. I'm so sorry.
All right.
But I know that I got attached to Jeremy very quickly, which and ended badly for our first stream playthrough because we got the bad ending for Jeremy, and I was not ready. I wasn't ready. I was absolutely beside myself. You did a really great job at playing this very stoic character, but still being able to pull that veil back and letting us see the vulnerability that kind of lives inside him. And I really enjoyed seeing that.
I don't know what else to say there, but that's very kind. Thank you.
We are currently sitting at 64 out of 84 of the achievements, many of which I think are bits of your life at this point, or like severely advanced, like having to pay into the tax situations and things like that. Look at that real quick. Yeah. Let's get rid of that.
A lot of chat is saying that they were very upset with Jeremy, with Jeremy's sad ending.
Thank you, guys. There was obviously hope for what we were hoping for, that you'd feel something. So it's nice that we hit the mark. So thank you.
Absolutely, I think Jeremy really resonates with a lot of us with the really dry, sarcastic wit, and the just trying to get through the day to day, one step at a time, kind of.
Yeah, it's one of the nicest things about how he's written is he, more than I would ever do in my own life, he says what you want to say, but usually don't. So which is why he's so much fun to play. Because he's a character, I don't have any of the nasty repercussions of actually speaking and saying things that you really shouldn't. So that's where the fun is.
We have a behind-the-scenes question for the Heatwave episode. What did you guys do for like becoming overheated and sweating? Were you just dousing yourselves with water? Were they turning up heat on you?
Well, not ourselves. We had our makeup team, and then the directors would look at it, they don't look sweaty enough, and they'd come around with little spray guns again. No more. The hair's ruined now. Change the hair. Spray again. Off you go.
I love it.
Pretty much every take, because by the time we'd done like 9-10 minutes of filming, some of that water had dried up. It was like, it doesn't look sweaty enough anymore, and yeah, spritz them again. Off we go. So yeah.
Quick question for you. Have you done, I know you have grown up with working and dealing with having CF for your immune system.
Yeah.
So does that affect a lot of what you can do vocally on stage? Like, have you been in like musical performances or things like that that might?
I haven't been in musicals. That's mainly because I'm not a particular much of a singer.
Okay.
I'm a lousy singer, to be honest, and that's nothing to do with what else what's wrong with me. I'm just not so inclined. Um, all right, I've done like on music. I've done been in ensembles. I can sing. I can carry a tune if I've got other people to listen to. But I'm never going to be, thankfully, wanting to be like a West End kind of performer. I haven't got that skill set for the singing, but I'm not much better at the miming, but I'm better at that than the singing. So that's that. But all right, projection vocally, I'm all right with that. I've all right. I have done some training, but a lot of one of the things you're taught to help keep yourself well is different breathing techniques. So a lot of that actually is centered around breathing from your diaphragm. A lot of acting and projection is centered around using your diaphragm. It's actually, of all the things I could get interested in, some of the vocal prep courses and things you're taught as an actor kind of aren't a million miles away from what I was taught by my doctors to help keep myself well. So I actually can be very loud when I have to be, and I've done open air theatre, unmiked, and you can hear me. That's what I can say. So I'm loud enough, and I'm not usually out of breath when I'm on stage. So I've did a production last summer where I was playing Cyrano de Bergerac, and the director wanted some fight scenes in it, given that he's meant to be an amazing swordsman. It's not a huge surprise. And we were working with a professional fight captain. And all right, I did find that tiring. So yeah, but I could do it. And all right, the rest of the time is mainly me just admit I had an awful lot to say, but talking and vocal projection has never been an issue for me. Thankfully. So,
Okay.
no, it doesn't really get in the way of that.
Gotcha. All right. I think, Mickey, unless you have anything, I think we've crossed everything that I have had written out.
We got all of my questions as well.
Okay. Do we have any last minute questions for Mr. Paul from our chat before we head out for the evening?
Chat's lost interest and has left.
Jay said I had to go to sleep.
But it's very late in England, so if that's the Jay I think it is, and I think it is, it's knocking on for 11. He's an old man now. He needs his rest, so let him go.
Looks like right now we do not have any more questions. We've got a lot of thank yous for joining from from my individuals and other things here. We'll do two more that we just got. One more serious, one a bit more fun. What is your best snack to go with your tea?
My tea. Well, Christmas is different because you have more snacks. I don't know whether you end up getting a lot of Christmas food over there that lasts, but we still have a panettone. Do you have I'm sure you could get them over there. Do you know panettone cakes?
My grandfather used to have them. Yes, he was very he would get British snacks, British television. So I grew up with a lot of influence.
Well, this is originally an Italian cake, but they became popular in England at Christmas. So we had now do various variations. So we still have one that we're getting through. So until that runs out, panettone cake, a large slice with tea is my preferred go-to.
There you go.
So yeah.
Gotcha. The other one I wanted to do that I like. How often does Paul go to watch other people reviewing his items, like games, movies, or productions? We've seen, I've seen. I don't know about the rest of my group. The the news individual who was playing not for broadcast when you joined his stream. He put up those videos, and I looked through those.
I do, because I have Twitch. I got Twitch basically because when the game launched, we were told that a couple of particularly profiled streamers would be playing it, and why you watch. And one of them, our publisher, the games publisher, was like, this particular one's doing it, and if you go and send them a DM on Twitter, they will invite you in and sit in the chat and talk to them. And I thought, that sounds fun. And then I had Twitch. And then, of course, because it shows games, that, and not surprisingly, you can follow games like you can follow people. I did follow not for broadcast. And I started looking going on it, and I was like, oh my God, there's 10,000 people playing it. And it's like, what's all this then? And it was so novel to me. So I'd go and watch, and sometimes that'd be, say, split over a couple of different people, but then you just get interested in reading the comments. You'll get interested in seeing the chat go by and seeing what they thought of it. And thankfully, most of them liked it. So it's, even now, if I see someone who's playing it, I'll go and look and say, well, what are you up to? And if it's a scene I like, I'll watch it for a bit, to try and work out if it's the first time they've played it. When it becomes, people who I think have played it or seem to have played it several times, I don't tend to watch them as much now. But when I realise someone's playing it for the first time, it is quite interesting to see how people react to it. So I can go down a rabbit hole and end up watching people play it for a bit. And occasionally I say hello or say something. Sometimes I say absolutely nothing and I just sit there. So, yeah, and all right. Occasionally I've been known to look at the Steam reviews, particularly if someone has messaged me and say, oh, look at this one, and seen some of the reviews there that have been nice. And it's also nice just to see the game as a whole get such a, generally speaking, such a positive percentage of reviews. So that's nice to see. A lot of them are just saying they just like the whole package, but all right, I'm part of that package. So
yeah.
It's been nice to see that it's so well received.
There was a quick follow-up from the same individual. Do you like to speak in the chat to spook anyone who is present? Not exactly to spook them. But occasionally, I think there's an incident you might be referring to. One night I couldn't sleep, so I was on my computer and I saw someone was playing it, and there had a few other people watching it, and I tuned in sort of near the end of their playthrough, and it was the Accord ending, and they were all talking about it, and I can't remember what question, how it came up, but it was a question. So I went, I just answered, like, yeah, I'm here. And no, it's not you. And then it was like, prove it. I was like, all right. So back and forth. It was Save the Data team, their Twitch channel. And then I even tweeted them to go, no, it is me. And they're like, oh, it is him. So that was a nice moment. And then we had a Brazilian streamer called Phelps, and Tiny Build's various promoters. Just funnily enough, I don't speak Brazilian Portuguese. I don't tend to watch Brazilian streamers on a day-to-day basis. But it was like, he messaged us through the games Discord and said he's playing it, he really likes it. We'll translate for you. Can you go and say hello to him? I said, yeah, sure. And that was quite a surreal experience, seeing. So again, it's that whole way it's crossed the language, and you don't really know exactly what they're saying, but they just go, they like you. So, okay then. Awesome, thanks.
That's really nice. So yes, in a way.
Like, Tedious absolutely sold us out about how excited we were when you first commented on our reaction to Jeremy's passing. We were very much in our own Discord having fan freakouts over that. Last one, just for anybody who hasn't played Not for Broadcast, which hopefully they've... Don't be here if you've not played it, because we've talked a lot of heavy spoilers. But do you have any advice for anyone who might be playing it for the first time?
Do you mean tips to literally get through it, or to get the ending you want?
Just if you had to tell somebody, like, hey, how would you phrase this?
Thing is, if you play using your own, listening to your own moral compass, whatever that may be, your own beliefs about what state should do, media should do, etc., you will get probably the ending you deserve, I suppose.
I could see that, yeah.
If you double down, and go, hey, that thing. I suppose the game is trying to make you consider other angles. Whatever your natural one is, the game wants you to consider the other side. You can either fight it or go with it. So if you fight it, it will bite you. it will make sure you're unhappy. So.
Fair. Follow your heart and you get what you deserve is what what I've got from that.
Yes.
All right. Well, we want to thank you again, Paul, for coming out. This has been a fantastic time getting to talk with you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
For those of you who are our regular fans, we'll continue. We're gonna go get dinner because it's only 5 o'clock for us here. It's much later for
11,
you.
And 11 o'clock is now tea time.
Yes. So we're going to go get dinner, and then we'll be doing another stream for continuing Baldur's Gate. But that's all offhanded at the moment. We're just going to do another short stream after this. But thank you guys for coming out. Those of you who are our typical individuals, and those of you who came from the Not From Broadcast Discord server. This was awesome to get to see you guys come out for that as well. And if I may, Paul, could we have a Jeremy goodbye to the audience?
What do I say again? Okay. Have a peaceful night, isn't it? But there's another bit more. It's been a while since I've done it now, so... if you can, have a peaceful night.
Thank you very much, Paul. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
For those of you who are asking, yes, we do save VODs for about a week after on Twitch, and then we also have a YouTube channel where we slowly update all of our any videos that we do. So thank you guys for coming out, and we're going to go ahead and stream. Thank you guys very much.